Hey everyone, this is Tom from Wildgrass, here checking back in with a new update video for everyone on Kickstarter and anyone else just following development. So the first thing we're going to be taking a look at here is a lot of the underlying systems that we've been dealing with implementing into the game outside of just the raw gameplay itself. And to start with, we're going to be taking a look at the main menu. We've had a few iterations of the menu in the past, some of which, well, all of which to be honest were quite nasty looking back at them. We've definitely been going through a learning process with trying to figure out how to make something functional and appealing to look at. So this is essentially the foundation of what will be there for the final game. And we've got some nice transitions in there, but what's really important is if you go into the options, there are actually things there now, and the game will no longer launch with the Unity launcher. So you can change all your options from within the game and see the effects that it's having in real time. So as you change the volume settings, you can hear them taking effect, all the mute buttons, everything is functional. And of course through the graphics options, if you press accept or apply, you can see the background in the menu change, so you'll be able to know what kind of performance you're getting and how it looks on those settings. So that's our aim for that options menu, so that you're able to see the kind of effect it's having. And because of that, the menu is filled with some pretty intensive graphics, but no more so than any of the levels, and that's really intentional to try and get you a good picture of how the game's going to be performing once you're in there. And now you can see when you go in and actually start a mode, you're given the options to join in as players, and this is entirely changed from what it was before when you just spawn a character into the world. And now you can either start a new profile or load an old one. You can rename that profile, name them anything you want within the character limit. I think it's around 9 letters or so. And at the moment it's simply saving that name for use later, but the hope later is to have it store your preferences for your controls, store the records of the fights you've been having, so you can look back on individual profiles and see their records of like, okay, this friend has always been sort of winning as this character, and you can sort of set up long-term rivalries of sorts with your friends and try and beat them out over time. And also of course with Spiral, it will be tracking the kind of records you're setting on that, and the abilities and level ups you've done on your character and all that stuff will be persistent. But for now it is simply just the name change, and but the system is in place, it does store that for later, and we're really happy with where we've gotten with it. So our current map lineup, we've changed the names and naming rules for our maps, so we're going for a bit of alliteration for everything. Same letter and sound for each name, two words for each name of the map, and none of the maps we want to have a different letter. So at the moment we've got Panda Peak, which was once Mountain, we've got Gloomy Grave, once Grave Peak, Spinning Tunnel, which was once Churntable, Mushroom Mine was once Quarry, and Frozen Fjord, which was once Tundra, and Depot Derby, which is the most temporary placeholder name of all of these, which was once the Crystal Track. That's the map with the small crystal encampment and train moving around it that we're planning. We're not liking the name of that one so far, but it might stick, who knows. If anyone has any better suggestions, please send them in. That'd be good. Regardless, let's move forward and have a look at the new version of Gloomy Grave, once known as Grave Peak. We've done a lot of work to this, we've redone all the assets and how they worked into the map, and we're thinking it's looking great so far. You can also notice we've got some lightning in there, we've got sound effects for it. This map's pretty much finished, so both Panda Peak and Gloomy Grave, both essentially finished now. We've finally even got in the Kickstarter initials, so as you roll past these gravestones in the middle of the map, you'll see people's names sort of floating up past the gravestones, and they'll sink back into the ground if you go away from them for a while. Really like this little touch, it adds a lot of atmosphere to the map, and also just big thank you to the people who backed us at those tiers. You guys are so appreciated, and we love the look of this map. It's one of our favorites at the moment. Of course it's one of the most polished as well, but the next map as well is really starting to look pretty cool, and that is the new iteration of Churntable, now the Spinning Shaft. So this is set on an elevator moving deep into an underground mine. You can see the tunnel moving up past the players there, and you've got the hazardous spinning platforms on either the outside or the middle, and this is our most dynamic map, we feel like. It's really fast paced, you can have a lot of fun with it. It's not great for beginners starting off with the game because of how much can be going on, how much you have to keep track of, and just understanding the rules and how they've changed in this map. But as someone who's played a lot of this game, going past a year and a bit of developing on it, a year and 6 months I'd say, this map's a lot of fun to play, especially it works great with a small number of players. It's much smaller, much more potentially deadly at any moment, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun at the moment. The middle platform is probably the least polished art asset in there at the moment, with just the pieces of wood slapped everywhere, but we've got both of our artists working on this right now, and this is probably going to be the next map finished up in the next few weeks. And here are some of the assets we're going to be putting into the tunnel. So as you move down, you'll start to see different pieces dug out into the tunnel. You'll see these mine carts and things sort of almost veering over the edge and falling off. You'll see big crystal geodes in the thing, and lanterns that pass by, and we're going to add a few details that sort of come past you in your journey down to the bottom, the infinite bottom of this giant tunnel. And it should be done pretty soon. Most of these things are textured in their earlier versions, so it's going to wrap up and look great, we think. And let's move on to the Mushroom Mine, once called Quarry. So this one, layout-wise, we're feeling pretty good about. One of the changes we're really considering and probably going to be implementing is, as you see, the middle of the map has this really dangerous spinning grinder sort of churning through the ground in the middle of the map. And you can use it to sort of escape from the bear enemy, or maybe risk it and try and cut off some other players. But it's also got this big brass shield coming around. We're either going to be tweaking the size of it so it's much less hazardous, or maybe just removing it entirely, because the middle of the map is dangerous enough without it there, and it does very much obscure your movement, or block off your movement, and it can feel a bit cheap as to when you die in here, and we don't want that at all. So the bear isn't phased by the grinders, so really this map is super deadly at the moment, a little bit more deadly than we'd like, and we're looking to tweak that middle. We'd be love to having your feedback, the Alpha backers who do have the build right now. It'd be great to hear what you think of it in its current version. Now I'm just going to go through and talk about some of the general changes we've made to the game since our latest public video releases. Some of our alpha backers will have noticed this stuff going forward, and the changelogs have been releasing with that, but we haven't really put these out in a big way, so just going to go through some of that. Of course, you can see some of the more final UI in the game now with the character portraits down there. They're going to have the portraits of the characters in the final version, but for now we do have much better art for that stuff. The power-ups are all mostly near their final stages in Hunt. There are a few I'm going to talk about now. So the Embiggen power-up, the one which makes you much larger and allows you to smash the rocks, is still in there for now. We do have a new effect where it makes it more obvious that you're in that enlarged mode, but we will be swapping this out. So the reason for this is in our play sessions with people, both run by ourselves or at big expos like PAX, we've noticed that the intended use of that power-up isn't working, especially for new players, where when they become big they think they'll be able to take on the bear, and it often leads to a somewhat frustrating death. And in general, being stuck in the large mode where you can't dig for an extended period of time, just sort of giving you a safe zone against other players as well, just isn't that fun of a mechanic. But we really like the idea of keeping it so that you can use it to smash through rock walls. So the power-up is going to change to a small quake-like effect which pushes forward past your character and smashes any rocks in your path. We're also considering whether or not it would temporarily, for much less than a second, stun players that are hit by it. Of course, it wouldn't be instantaneous in its travel time, so you would be able to dodge it skillfully. But we're not sure on whether or not that would be fun yet, but definitely changing it over to the new system whereby it smashes rocks in front of you. This should avoid being stuck in that big mode, should make it more of a skillful thing to use, and also be much more clear about its use and not let players try and take on the bear. Let us know what you think of that. We're pretty happy with how it's going right now. Just have the implementation left to go on that one. We've also removed the jump power-up, again for confusion reasons, with players often trying to jump over the map obstacles you see like in the pond or the buildings and stuff, because we agree it does actually seem like you should be able to do that. There are many reasons why we can't. I could spend a long time talking about that. We definitely have spoken about it with each other at length, and we tried a few different iterations of the jump power up in the meantime to try and keep it in the game. There was one where it was a sort of fixed launch position, and at the moment it's just removed from play entirely. We're looking to replace it with an ability much similar to the Spiral's Blink, so you'll be able to quickly teleport forward over past rocks. It is a bit similar to the rock smashing ability in that it does allow you to bypass rocks, but it's quite different in that it is that additional bit of maneuverability, and also you are not smashing the rocks to allow other players in. Say if multiple players were being trapped by that rock line, only one would escape forward. So we think it is a valuable kind of ability to have in the game, and it should provide a good mix-up. You can see it being used here in some of the Spiral gameplay. Just visual-wise, we've added quite a few new effects. The kick-up dirt that sort of pops up as the players skid around and as they dig is now a 3D mesh. We really like the big soft look of it. We've spent quite a bit of time in the past couple of weeks to try and get it optimized to run correctly using Unity's particle system, as it doesn't generally like using a lot of more detailed 3D meshes as particles, but we've got it really smooth now, and it should be performing as well as the old particle system was at this point. And this is a new scene in Unity that I've begun to work with just simply for testing out effects. You can see some new things we're planning or have worked into the game now. So we've got a script we've developed. It's very simple. You can see it in effect on the mushroom up here, the big mushroom in the middle where it looks like it's sort of swaying around and pulsating a bit. And it's basically a script which allows us to put on objects and provide them a little bit of movement without needing to custom animate a lot of things. So it's just a random scale and rotation and things of that nature, and it really adds a bit of life to the world. And when that's applied to some more things, you really begin to sort of notice the world coming to life as we want it to. You can also see that I'm triggering off different effects with these different boxes I like to test with, and one of these is the confetti, which is one of the few effects we can have at the end of matches to sort of celebrate a victory. We're thinking of some pretty silly stuff for that, and it's coming along well. The circular smashing effect on the ground is a failed experiment by us that we spent a while on trying to get a good effect for when the meteorite, the power-up meteorite for Hunt, smashes into the ground. We've had to avoid using it in the final version as can't get it to blend properly with different pieces of terrain. For example, if there's some grass and dirt in the area which the thing hits. We were trying a camera rendering system which would try and take an image of what that ground looked like and project that onto the dirt which is being thrown up. But some of the lighting and stuff we couldn't get working as we wanted, so we're going to settle with just a bit of refraction, sort of more standard effects that you'd expect for that sort of thing. It's a bit of a pity because we really thought the idea was really cool and would have looked quite nice, but it's just not worth spending the time trying to get that little bit of polish working when we can move on to some other more important things we don't have in the game yet, or other assets. So abandoning that one for now, but the falling meteorites should be in the game soon. Hopefully in the next update we'll be able to show them falling to the ground rather than just appearing into the world. And here you see the sculpted version of our wombat finished up recently. So this guy's in the game. He's actually textured at this point. He's moved in there. He's all rolled up and you can see him moving around the levels. Let's go over and have a look at now the hedgehog, the second of the couple of new characters we've got in there. So this lady's almost finished up. She's been turned into a low poly model ready for the game. She's all dressed up in the special game skeleton to move around. We just have to get her all caught up and working. Then we'll move on to the badger, and that'll be the last critter for release. And yeah, it's really all coming along. We really like the look of the characters that we've been able to develop using Anthea Wright, the artist we've been working with since the Kickstarter's been over. We've been able to pay her and get some great work from her, and we're really happy with how it's all turned out. On the note of Kickstarter, and this update in particular, We haven't done one of these in a while, have we? And we're really sorry about that. We love the support and the patience you guys have had for us with developing this. We have been putting out a few updates to our alpha backers, but I know everyone else has really been in the dark on this. So moving forward, we're going away from our sort of changelog and blog update model over to giving you guys just direct access, seeing what we're doing in our Trello development blog every day at work. We're there from Monday to Friday, often more than the regular work hours, just trying to get this game out to you guys. And just giving you a much more transparent view of our development, we feel like will be really helpful for everyone knowing what exactly it is that might be holding us back in any one update, or knowing where it is that we have to go to get to release. And we're on one of the final stretches now. You can see in the left the things which we know we have to do, which definitely have to be completed. These we broke down maybe a little bit moving forward into some smaller tasks. Some bugs in the next column, we're thinking of moving over to a new one which will be open for other people to submit, so anyone in the testing phase will be able to submit to that one. And then the ones which are being worked on, and some which need to be moved over to other people, and then the giant completed column which is added to every day. And our beta will be coming. We're not sure when exactly. We're still aiming to release in the first half of this year. We don't want to give any direct dates on that. We know we've been awful with that in the past. This is our first game. We're not great at predicting when we can be finished with these tasks, and as much as we try, we don't want to disappoint anyone. And the one thing we know for sure, we're going to finish this game. We want this game to be the best we can possibly make it for everybody, so we're not going to release a half-baked thing. When we do put it out, it's going to be good. But we can't be exactly sure on when that date will be. We're sorry for any delays we've had, but I'm sure everyone will appreciate the work we've put into it once it does come out. I just want to thank you all again for your patience and for supporting us, and we're looking forward to getting out the beta as soon as possible. Keep an eye out on the Kickstarter updates and YouTube for more updates coming forward than we have been doing in the past few months. Things are getting really exciting, and we can't wait to get the game out to you guys. See ya!